Hi, Sebastian.
Today we're going to do a experiment. Don't know what's going on because she said just to do it.
Okay, so what we're going to do today is a demonstration in volume, but also I think it acts like it doubles like a metaphor for a valuable life lesson. So, what we have here is 3 different shaped containers. And our first container over here has an amount of water in it. I don't know if you can tell, but
It has 6 milliliters, I'm guessing?
ounces probably.
Ounces.
There's this much water in it. Okay? Now, what I want you to just leave it. What I want you to notice is that in this container, there is an amount of water that is about halfway. It doesn't fill up the container, but it's not a teeny tiny little amount. It's about halfway. And the water looks like it's just pretty clear. Just looks like regular water, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then I have these 2 other containers. You can tell that they're different shapes. They're also different colors, but also inside of each container is just a little drop
of food coloring
in each one. Okay. So here's what I want to do. The amount of liquid that's in this cylinder does not fill up the cylinder, correct? If we pour that exact same amount of liquid into a container that's a different shape, do you think that the water is going to fill up these containers or be halfway like that one or be less? Just guess. Don't worry about the markings. Just guess. What do you think is going to happen? Fill it up? Okay. So, Sebastian, take this beaker of water, and you can use the little pointed part right there to start pouring it into this container right here. Try to make sure that you do it nice and neat. Don't spill anything.
Orange. What is that yellow?
I mean, it's turning a color. Kind of hard to tell because the container itself is not clear. So the food coloring I put in there was actually red, but the container, okay. Go ahead, stop. There we go. Is there still a little bit of water left in there?
Nope, that's all.
Oh, okay, perfect. It just barely made it to the very, very top. Look at that. It's just about ready to overflow. Okay, so couple things. Number 1, in this situation, the exact same amount of water was only going to fill this container halfway, but then you put it in a different size and shape container and it fills it up.
That was correct.
So, okay, your hypothesis was correct. That's wonderful. Obviously, the size and shape of your container does make a big difference in this situation. But here's what I want you to understand about life. Imagine that this container represents your mind, how open-minded you are. And the water represents a problem in your life. The food coloring in there represents how your judgment of the world changes the way that you see it. So, in this container right here, we're going to call this, since it's the largest one of these containers, we're going to say that this represents a very open-minded person. And it did not have any food coloring in it. So when the water was in there, the water was just clear. It was unchanged, okay? But we take that exact same amount of water and put it into a mind that is a slightly different shape, a more narrow-minded shape, with a little bit of food coloring in there, which means that this narrow mind also has some sort of judgment or bias that is coloring the world and everything they perceive in a certain way. That's why the exact same amount of problems over here only filled the mind about halfway, and the water was just clear and normal. But for this person with a slightly more narrow mind, we have the exact same amount of problem. For this person that was not that bad over here, it has completely overwhelmed this mind. You see how it's just about to overflow, and the water is all a different color because there was something in this mind that colored the exact same problem in a different way. Does that make sense? Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this exact same volume of liquid and move it into this container.
But the color alone is gonna mix with that.
Is it?
It might.
Yeah, it might. Okay. I'm going to try to throw it in there without spilling too much. I spilled a couple of drops, but mostly we got our exact same volume of problem back into our open mind. And as you can see, the water is a different color now, but that's what happens when we have biases, is that we color the things that we experience with the way that we see the world.
Oh, definitely halfway also.
Okay. So here we have a situation where
Filled it to 5 ounces. No, 5.5 ounces. But
So,
this one is 6.
I don't know how obvious it is on camera, but for this container, the liquid comes up to about here.
Yep.
So in this situation,
So this is the narrowest out of all of them.
yeah, that container right there was the most narrow, and it had its own way of coloring the world. But then this container is a weird combination of, yes, it does have its own type of food coloring or its own type of bias that did color the world or the problems to its own particular whatever's going on with that mind. But notice that even though this container is a little narrow in some places, it's also very open in other places. So
he's a narrow and open person.
This is a great example of showing that it is possible to kind of be both. Even if you are someone that is a little bit narrow in some situations and does have some biases in some situations, it's totally possible to have just enough open-mindedness that a problem is not necessarily going to have to overwhelm you when it comes along. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So now if we take this water and pour it back into here, woo, that water's all muddy looking now, huh?
It's green.
Is it green? Let's see. Show me.
Yeah.
Show me your hand right there.
But just look at that. Look at that. Look at those sides.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Green.
Definitely green. Okay. So, and then this is a situation in which your same open-minded person it still has that same problem, and it still is not overwhelming, but because of bias, it has changed the way that this mind perceives this problem. That problem now has a different color to it. Okay, so what'd you think?
Nice.
Was that fun?
Yes.
Yeah. What do you think? Do you want to be somebody who is more narrow-minded or more open-minded? What do you think is better for you?
There's one.
Okay, so more open-minded, so that maybe the same kind of problems that seem like too much for somebody else, for you, it may not be that overwhelming. Mm-hmm. Okay. And what about having bias? Do you think having a lot of bias will make it?
Bias?
Bias is when you have a belief or an understanding of the world that makes you view everything around you differently than the person next to you. They might see things differently than you. Uh-oh. Look at you. Ingenuity at its finest. Oh dear. No, 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 no. We're going to end up making a huge mess. Oh boy. Okay. So, what do you think? Does bias make it easier or harder to deal with problems?
I don't know.
You don't know? Well, if your water represented your problems and the food coloring represented your bias, when was the water easier to see through? When there was or was not bias?
There was not.
When there was not bias. So the world around you is more difficult to see through it or understand when you're clouded by more bias. Show me.
This is what it originally looked like. And now look what it looks like.
Whoa.
When I put it in this one.
Okay, you think it picked up a little bit more bias?
Uh-huh.
Are you having fun?
Yay.
Oh boy. All right, I think we're good for the day. All right, so now we're gonna go and probably make a humongous mess with this. All right, have a good day, Sebastian.
Yes.
You want to say anything else?
I don't know. Like and subscribe.
Okay. Thank you.
I put half and half. And look at that. Look at it. Look at it. I put half and half.
Ooh, and you know what that means?
What?
That when two people work together on a problem, then it's less problem for each person to deal with. What do you think about that? Yeah?
Working together is always good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh dear. Okay. I'm going to stop the video now, okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Have a good day, buddy. I'll see you later.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Bye, everyone.